Welcome to AI and Golf Tech, y'all. Thanks for being here with us. A little bit of housekeeping to get us started. We are going to do about a 40-minute roundtable discussion with our esteemed panelists here, and then we'll leave the back 20 minutes open for a lively Q&A. But we will have a handful of questions that we're going to guide the chat through. Panelists, we'll have you guys introduce yourselves in just a second, and then I'll kick us in with the first couple questions and get the discussion going. What I would love for us to do is sort of jump in and interrupt each other and have a lively chat instead of a one-off Q&A sort of waterfall series of chats here. So feel free to interrupt each other. And with that, we'll get going. The thing that I thought was the funnest way to frame all of the things that are changing in golf with AI is through the lens of how golf is played, taught, managed, and experienced. That's been how I've been bucketing my research and my thinking coming into this. And I think the other lens that I've been looking through is both the hobbyist, like myself. I play golf. I'm not a great golfer. I love golf, but I don't play enough to score well. I do care about improving my score, but I'm nowhere near a pro. And then we have the tour professional side of golf, where it's a whole different game for those folks. And so I want to look through all those different lenses: played, taught, managed, experience, and then hobbyist and professional. And then doing research for today, a couple things really stood out to me. One is in South Korea, more golf is played indoors on simulators than actually outdoors. And so that signals to me the shape of the game is changing. And so that's something we can unpack a bit. The other thing that's super interesting, and I'm not sure how I personally feel about it, but Callaway's got some prototypes that have embedded chips that actually change the direction of your face of your club based on how you're swinging. And this is sort of almost like co-piloting golf instead of you actually having to have some of the skill. That's questionable in how I view the game. And lastly, when we're thinking about how golf is experienced, PGA has actually got this technology now called TourCast that's providing AI-based commentary on every swing of the game. That's cool for the fan experience potentially, but it's also a tremendous amount of data that's being generated and can be analyzed at the player level, at the match level, at the course level. So really, really cool stuff coming out of the experience side of golf here. But let's get kicked off. Spencer, would you do me a quick favor and introduce yourself and why you're here?
Yeah. So the quickest version is once upon a time I used to play golf at a professional level. Through a bunch of injuries and spine surgeries and such, I had to back out of that. But then got into coaching, worked at a country club, then worked at a high performance academy. Then after leaving there, worked with tour players, college players, elite juniors. So much more of that high performance side of things. And during that experience, this was over 14 years ago, collaboration between all of these different stakeholders became a real challenge, sharing media, notes, etc. So ended up building a piece of software to solve those problems, raised some capital, got acquired a couple different times, and CoachNow, the product that we built, is the #1 coaching app in the world across 80 sports, 140 countries. We adopted a lot of cool AI technology over the last handful of years, and just stoked to keep talking about it. And now I'm coaching and consulting other startups, especially in the golf and kind of athlete improvement space. And Josh being one of them. Josh and I are teaming up on his product. So I'll pass it back to you, Chris.
Great segue. Josh, tell us about you, man.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I'm an Aussie PGA member. I've been in the States since about 2012. I came over here because I was passionate about playing and competing. So I played some mini tour events, got close to qualifying for a couple of PGA events, but never quite made it that far. But along that journey, I guess I accidentally became an entrepreneur. At the time, I didn't really know what that meant. But how it started was, I'm kind of a data and analytics nerd. I'd kept track of, my stats in like handwritten scorecards and spreadsheets. And when I came here to the States, I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do it. And it wasn't until I volunteered as a walking scorer at a PGA Tour event that I saw the technology that they were using, which is basically ShotLink. And that was kind of the light bulb moment. Aha, we can go and put this into a web and mobile app. So I started building that in 2012. We launched that in 2014, partnered with the LPGA Tour, and we kind of saw that grow to 120 plus countries and over 26,000 odd users. Being my first startup, had no idea how to grow the business. Social media and marketing were not my forte. So it's still out there and operational, but it was kind of the beginnings of how I got to where I am today. Transition to that, before I get into what I'm working on now with Chipped, I've been in since you brought it up, Chris, I've been in the golf simulator space since 2017. So I worked for Full Swing Simulators on a variety of projects. I was one of the early guys working on the kit launch monitor, designing UX, UI experiences for the app, the on-screen display. And then I got involved with FS Golf, the software Full Swing developed to replace, well, basically to have their own software offering for their simulators. So I built the UI experience for that. I built 25 or so virtual golf courses. So I really got into the virtual design, utilizing the Unity engine and Full Swing's tools that we developed to build golf courses. And then the last year and a half I was at Full Swing, I was exclusively working on TGL. So I worked closely with the guys at Tomorrow Sports and the three architects that they had to design the holes. I brought those designs to life in the virtual world. I had a couple of guys on the Full Swing team that assisted with some environment and other polish. But for the most part, a lot of those holes that you saw in season 1 were built by myself. But yeah, to rewind, data and analytics is kind of been where I've been in the golf space, in the golf tech space. And I was looking for a way to automate the data capture process and explored a few different options. But when the idea of putting tech in the ball was suggested, I'm like, I think that's the answer. So like a TrackMan and a quad, looking at the ball to see what the ball's actually doing. There's nothing doing that out on the golf course. So that was back in 2016. We started down the journey of trying to figure out how to put tech in the ball, and we're getting pretty close to launching our first version of that ball here in the next few months.
What a journey, man. PGA golfer to accidental entrepreneur plus product engineer. You're covering a lot of ground there, Josh.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
What about you, Rich? Give us a primer on you real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I am definitely the worst golfer on this panel, but I'm okay with that. I started my journey with golf around 5 or 6 years old with a granddad who was off 5 at 86 years old, so still swinging pretty well late into his 80s. My brother ended up going pro. I ended up being his caddy for a while, but myself was always a single finger hobbyist, as Chris put it. Main reason I'm here is that, as the co-founder of MOHARA, I've built a tremendous amount of tech product that is, and have seen and been involved in a number of AI products as well across different sports. We're looking at general fitness and cricket at the minute, but it's all got applicable features into golf, and it's a sport that I know and love deeply. So hopefully I can be able to contribute, a product lens as much as the other guys can as well for interesting discussion.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rich. Spencer, you and I know each other before this, so
yeah.
I want to start with you because I feel most comfortable asking you some questions I know about the way you about the world. But one of the things we've talked about is sort of the transition from one-off in-person lessons to this more like longitudinal coaching experience, maybe subscription-based coaching experiences.
Mm-hmm.
What are 2 or 3 maybe workflow changes or ways AI has been introduced into the coaching environment that moves us from this one-off standing at a driving range together or playing around together to this more longitudinal approach to coaching?
Yeah, well, I think the most important part to understand is that ultimately, when you're coaching, it's still a relationship between humans. And even if you're building an AI startup, you need to remember that the customers are still human. Maybe someday AI will be buying AI products, but let's just remember that we're still dealing with other humans on the side of this. And as a coach, what you're really trying to do is enhance that relationship. So AI, in my view, is at best right now should be augmenting the coaching relationship, should be maybe speeding up certain things, but definitely not replacing it. I still don't think you're going to see a PGA Tour winner or major winner saying thank you to my AI coach, or thank you to the coach I've never met before. I don't think you're going to see that still, because there's so much individual injury history, trends, training history, all these other things that AI can maybe gobble up a little bit, but it still needs to go through the lens of a coach. So for me, I think AI is, especially in the video side, which is maybe where my expertise lies a little bit more. There's a lot of great innovation around analyzing swings and kind of automating some of that process. But as it exists today, you still very much need that coach to then be the ultimate prescriber. From a D2C product, you can, of course, build an AI tool that gives a golfer more insight than they normally have, because most golfers don't know anything. But I think the best thing will be, from the coaching perspective, let's increase the touch points between a coach and a student. Let's enhance that relationship. And if there's anything that AI can do to kind of speed up the getting to know you phase, I think that's a big deal. And I see a friend here named Matt who's helping with stuff like that. So it's more of, oh, I got all this data and I'm about to work with my new coach. Potentially AI can distill that and help that coach kind of speed through the normal, 2 hours of getting to know someone, so they can get right to the improvement process a little bit faster.
Love that. And Josh, one of the things I think coaches have been missing for some time now is ball data.
Yeah.
So how are you guys thinking about where your data-driven tools live in the golfer's experience? Is it feeding the coach information in order to coach the golfer to improve a swing? Or is it more direct to consumer? Like, where does the data that your ball will generate fit into those four
Yeah,
buckets?
well, for with the early stages of what we're doing with the golf ball, I think AI is going to help us in the product development side of things, like having a look at the data that we're actually getting from the ball and turning that into the meaningful metrics that the end user is going to see. If I can rewind a little bit, like back to so the first startup, all Get Real Golf Stats. So we had an application that allowed the user to input where all of the shots took place from. So a manual process. So you're not allowed to take your phone on the golf course. Remember, this is back 2012. This is pre-responsive websites too. Like, so my kind of ethos back then, if you will, was the data was meant to, like Spencer's sake, augment the coaching experience. The idea was, instead of, like, if you could speed up that getting to know your student, and our tool could provide that to the coach through data, but also allow the coach to have access to that meaningful data over a long period of time to identify trends, to validate that what you're working on is actually improving your game. So that was the reason behind the first startup, and that hasn't changed with the golf ball. I think ultimately what AI is going to do is just allow us to analyze the data faster, better, quicker, more efficiently, but also the more data we capture from more golfers around the world, now we can start to use that to compare golfers on this side of the planet to golfers on this other side of the planet. And I think ultimately I go back to when we were building the golf stats platform, more than a decade ago now. I recall the PGA Tour website having more than 1,000 statistics, like different pages that you could go through. Like, that's how many different stat fields that had.
Which is overwhelming, needless to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Then you go to the LPGA website, and I think they had 20.
Yeah.
And then Nationwide had like 125 data points, and then outside that, there was for the everyday golfer was next to nothing. I think Apps at that time had it was just the basic, how many fairways did you hit, how many greens in reg, and how many putts. Yeah. How does a golf coach teach a golfer or identify what areas of their game need improvement based on just those basic numbers? So
Josh, to kind of piggyback off that a little bit, I remember coaching even tour players or national level players, right? People that played for their country. And one of our early investors being a major league player and asking them, well, what did your swing look like when you were playing at a certain level? Or what were you working on then? And they had no access to any of that information, right? And that's why we built the platform we built, to consolidate everything and hopefully give you a longer training journal. But I think the power of AI as well is going to be able to go through years and years of videos, notes, golf ball data, statistical data, and actually allow you to pull those up and work through some trends rather than having to scroll all the way through it, right? At the very best. Currently, most people don't even have access to one video or a note. They don't even know where it is.
I mean, I think in the, sorry, Chris, just to jump in there, I just wrote down, it sounds like it's a transition from measurement and those 1,000 stats to interpretation. Because interpretation is everything from a coach's perspective, isn't it? It's if a player, a single player, has got that repository of data that they've had over a period of time, which I'm sure golfers now that are younger have got that, but when you're in your mid-40s and you've been playing since the mid-90s, you don't have anything like that. But it does feel like
notebooks
AI
and cassettes and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, notebooks, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And
maybe there's a way to ingest that, but I think AI is very good at interpretation. You mentioned trends, right? You mentioned trends and spotting things. If you can bring that corpus of data together, and then you're able to put AI models over the top of it as a coach, as a co-pilot almost to a coach, to get some form of indicative picture that works alongside that coach who's practically, physically looking in the eye of that golfer to understand them more. I think that's an interesting spot for sure.
Amazing. Well, one of the things that stands out to me about you, Spencer, and you, Josh, is the same with any startup outside of sports tech even, is I think one of the most indicative indicators or signals of likelihood to succeed is the founder or founding team. You guys bring some deep expertise to a space that obviously you know and love. But Rich, what do you see in the sports tech world that is a different indicator of potential success for these early stage companies building AI products in new verticals? Is it that expertise, or is there something else?
I mean, expertise is always a key thing, right? No matter when you're looking at a founding team as a group of investors or someone joining an early stage team, it's invariably the team you're joining. It's everybody, ideas are 10 a penny type thing. It's the implementation. How do these people understand deeply the why of the problem and then be able to put it together? I mean, I think golf's an interesting space when thinking about learning from other sports, because golf's still got quite a lot of traditional kind of institutions, doesn't it? And I do get,
sure.
the club I joined up here in Nottingham, Wollerton Park, beautiful course. But you did get the feeling it was still very traditional. It was certainly a club that I felt that would be slower in terms of top-down adoption. And I think golf slightly has to wrestle that forward. But I do think players who are coming through are tech friendly. So I do think there is that potential strong adopter base from the younger kind of next generation. But I think, in terms of, if I were evaluating, the golf startup, I'd do it as I would any initial business, right? I'd look at the team, I'd look at the opportunity. There's obviously the market size and things, but how can we penetrate? Is the market ready for it? All of those kind of classic evaluation things. I do think we've touched on already, there's the coaching physicality side of it, tracking body movement, understanding angles and things like that. I myself haven't seen a tremendous amount of stuff in psychology or course strategy or course management, which are huge things as to why a golfer is successful or not. I think if you look at the tour, something like, if you average 69.1, you earn $100,000 a year. If you average 69, you earn $1 million or something crazy like that. It's so very fine tuned between what you get through, and invariably that comes down to psychology. So I'm going on a bit of a segue there, but I'd be really interested in that side of things. If I was evaluating, it's like, are we a little bit crowded over in simulation and body tracking? And what areas of golf haven't been touched, and how could we look at other sports and other technologies that's out there to maybe disrupt that, that sliver of golf?
Yeah.
Well, one I'm working with right now, Richard, now that you mention it, it's a visualization startup. Yeah, there's an AI visualization startup I'm working with that is across any sports, and it's backed by the science of some of the Olympic team psychologists that use visualization with all those high performers.
Yeah.
So you can go in and you write out your goals, say what you want to do, And then the AI helps you build a visualization practice that walks you through incredibly detailed visualizations. They're early, but they're getting some great adoption. And me personally, I understand the power of seeing it before you do it, and recognizing that if you can visualize it clear enough, there's even things that kind of fire in your physicality, even at kind of the smallest levels. So I think the mental side in that way is a big opportunity with AI. And then I think the other one that I'm kind of excited about is breath work and training, and having these kind of AI coaches work you through those kinds of things. But it's all backed by real coaching data, not just, a casual golfer saying this would be a cool thing. Like, it's got to be, like Henrik brought up, you got to feed it the right information. So that especially as a consumer going in, and I was testing this early product, some of even the language that it used for golf was not right. So immediately I'm going, "Ooh, this thing's not credible."
Doesn't mean me.
Right. Well, it's like it's pronouncing things the wrong way, or it's bringing up a phrase that's not the thing a golfer would use. So as you're building these AI startups, you've got to feed it the right information so that when it produces content, it feels like it's the right level of credibility for the end user. Right.
That's super interesting. That gets me to thinking about, Josh, where are you thinking about the real world impact of introducing the chipped golf ball, and where does it fit into the psychology of the golfer, and what part of the market are you trying to enter, and how does this play into some of those other entry points? Does this go with the visualization AI, or does this go with the coaching applications and you go for prosumer first? Like, where do you guys think you're going to enter and why?
Wow, a narrow question. No, great. Look, I think there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, the world has kind of heard about tech in a golf ball for a few years now. We've been working on it since 2016. We had our first proof of concept in 2017 in a wooden ball the size of a baseball. I feel like it kind of ties into the previous topic of like what it takes to build a startup like this. And there's the team. I think it starts with guys like Spencer and I that have the experience, the passion, and a vision. But I think there's an execution part to it, and getting the right team members on board to do that, I think is the key. And with Chipped, that's what I experienced very early on. I had the idea presented to me, and we went off, myself and one guy, to try and do that, and it failed. After 9 months and going nowhere, I realized this is not the right team member. And so it wasn't until I met my now co-founders that have the background and expertise in the semiconductor space. They've developed products for the wireless and cell phone industry. One of them was the first guy to basically put GPS in the iPhone, working with Apple. So not at Apple, but for one of the chip suppliers that was a supplier to Apple. So, I think that team is really important. And what we have been working on for now, close to 8 or 9 years, was to solve a problem that, some have argued can't be solved. But it's an engineering challenge. We've got to basically put an Apple Watch into, a golf ball, and somehow not affect its performance.
Hit it hundreds of miles an hour over and over again.
Eventually, so it doesn't explode. Yep.
And trying to convince people that like this is the future, like that has proven to be a challenge sometimes, and then others are like, yes, this is absolutely, like, give me this ball, I want it, I can't wait to get all of the data. So yeah,
but I think, Josh, that the two audiences, right, that you're most stoked on is, well, coaching, the game improvement piece. But the other thing that Josh is really leaning towards is this kind of global putting competition as a way to start, right? Because the ball is feeding all this data in. We can validate certain entry points to the hole. Talk about that a little bit, Josh, because that's a big deal.
I guess from a hardware standpoint, like, it has to start somewhere, right? And getting a golf ball for the golf course, like, there's so many more steps for us to get there.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's there's an opportunity in the putting space to basically introduce launch monitor like technology to putting, because I remember when I was a player and would spend hours practicing, I have no data from any of my putting practice over the course of my career. None. I have some
even
data,
if it's just
I
result data,
manually-
let alone ball data. Yeah.
So I felt like as an entry point into sport, introducing a tech-enabled golf ball, like there's an opportunity here for us to create that, but also to Spencer's point, introduce the idea of a global putting competition where now you can turn practice into competition. Kind of gamify it or give you real meaning or purpose to what you're practicing.
Because nobody practices putting enough, as we well know, so we need to make it more fun.
And we also know putting's like 40% of your stroke count, right? Like you can improve it.
Substantial.
We just saw the Ryder Cup a couple of weeks ago, and they commented about how it's just a putting competition, and even the best guys on the planet, on the best surfaces on the planet, miss 3-footers. And so part of the experience that I want to create in our application really is to create that essence of pressure while you're practicing. Like, how can you actually increase your heart rate to replicate these situations that you would eventually be out on the golf course, so you can train under the same conditions that you know or want to put yourself in the future. So gamifying it in a way can introduce that, but also I think it adds an element of fun and entertainment to it. And new golfers, juniors, everyone can putt, everyone can compete, everyone can hole a 3-footer, everyone can hole a 30-footer. You don't have to be a good golfer in order to be able to putt. But to do the TrackMan Combine and to be competitive in that, like, you got to be a pretty good golfer, right? You got to be able to. You've probably spent years working on your swing. To introduce a new golfer to a TrackMan Combine just doesn't make sense.
Yep.
And this is the thing, though, isn't it? What you're talking about there is exactly what I was mentioning. You found a niche within inside of the golf space. You built the tech, which has got other use cases around just for general practice, and you've gone, you could probably actually own putting. With all due respect, you probably could. You get that right, and you go and get some movement around that competition.
Yeah.
No one else is looking at putting.
No, the competition is the global side of that putting competition is definitely the most exciting, and being able to validate it with the ball data so that it's less. I mean, people will find a way to cheat any which way they can, but at least a little bit less likely to do so. And then the tech can go into other balls eventually. It can go to the full swing when it's time. But in the AI lens of things, I think what Josh is really putting together too is, okay, we get all that data. Hopefully millions of putts a month are happening around the world. What kind of things can we learn from and share back to the end user or to putter companies, about working on certain putting technology?
Like, on that note, Spencer, there's a stat that the announcers on CBS and NBC bring up regularly, and that's the tour players holding 50% of putts from 8 feet. Like, they've kind of identified that as the 50% mark. But, what is it for the regular golfer when you're putting on a muni course with a stint of 9.5?
Yeah, nobody knows that right now.
And it's bouncy. So to be able to reveal that and use that information to inform the regular golfer of what is a good putter, what is a realistic expectation for how many putts you should hold from 20 feet, for example. Like, I remember doing a study of, it was part of my traineeship, so back in 2010, and I surveyed members at the club. I ran a putting clinic, and one of the questions I asked was, if I gave you 10 putts from here at 20 feet, how many do you expect to hole? And the range was between 10 and 16. I was like,
and the reality
really?
is like
the reality is like it's 1 to 4.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe this is before we move on from this piece, that putting is also the thing that you can practice in your hallway. It's also the thing that you can go to at home at any one time. So the ability to give the angle of the angle that you're going through, or the speed, or anything, or the kind of the metrics that you're pulling from that. It is the thing that you can go and grab 10 minutes before dinner doing. It is that kind of thing that you can do in at home. You don't have to make that effort. And it's also, like Chris said, it's the step change often in good scoring. And it's often overlooked because, you sit there, you might put your 2 tea pegs down and you might go and do that kind of routine for a period of time. But a lot of people probably don't put as much time into it. So it's an enabler to a degree as well.
Absolutely.
Well, it's interesting you brought up GPS and accelerometers in iPhones, because that was such an inflection point for so many other applications. Like there would be no Uber without that. There'd be no DoorDash without that. There'd be no geofencing use cases without those things introduced into iPhones. And so think about all the enabling things that same kind of technology can bring to just a golf ball. Like we said, speed, bounce, location. You could map undulations of greens that change over time at the same courses. There's like so many different things that could come from just the enabling technology alone.
Yeah, for sure.
If I think we all agree that golf is at an inflection point with technology. I'm curious, to wrap us up with like a group question here. Where do you guys think the most durable wedge for AI specifically is going to play in the next 5 years? Is it in performance? Is it in fan engagement? Is it in the operations of the businesses that support these things? Like where do you think AI is going to live the most over the next 5 years?
Boy, that's a good question. Rich, you want to take that to start, maybe? Being the technology man.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's the, as we touched on at the top, it's the physical side of it, training, the data, all the rest of it. I think fan engagement is probably being caught on pretty quickly, because there's you only have to look at the fan engagement that Live do compared to what PGA was doing 10 years ago. It's very, very different. The kind of things that they are doing. I am myself interested in how do we, how do, not answering your question here, Chris. Sorry, I've just been musing on it. Where does this technology sit with what is able for a training aid to a hobbyist that is not allowed on tournament golf? Because I think there is a question there about what technology in the future of golf is allowed and be accepted in tournament golf, and what is allowed for when you go and even if it's the local medal compared to a small course compared to a PGA Tour event. So I don't know what the future is going to be like with regard to the hobbyist and the pro split. I myself am interested in the psychological side of it, because I've seen my brother go down the 18th with Justin Rose, and Justin Rose visualize it in from 60 yards, and my brother stick it for 20 feet and lose the competition. And when I spoke to him afterwards, he said, "Oh, I just saw it." And I'm interested in the psychology side of it, because I think there is so much back and forth with LLM. There's so much the visualization stuff I think is fascinating. I do believe the physical side of it is well trodden. I'm interested in the golf ball and the aspects of that, and at the top, the Callaway piece. But I think I'm really interested to know how coaching and caddying can have a co-pilot. How do you read the course? Caddies walk the course. Well, what kind of tools can we give a caddy to do a better job? Because they're the right hand when they're on the course. So I think there's many areas of golf left to be explored, and I think it's pretty exciting. I think just need to get golf to start the company.
AI is going to change everything. Play top management experience, all of it.
All of it. Yeah.
Sorry.
I think in the consulting world we call that MECE.
Yeah, I think a bit there. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, thanks, Spencer. I feel like there's I think the golf entertainment side of things is where things are going to start to really explode. Chris, you mentioned at the top of this, in South Korea, there's how simulator golf, indoor golf has exploded. Top Golf, I guess, was the starting point for the driving range experience, and I think that sort of technology and experience brings more people to the sport to enter it to begin with, and these entertainment facilities can become a hook, right? Well, like my son is not a golfer. He's 16. I've taken him to the driving range a couple of times, but when he was younger, it just wasn't interested in it. However, we do have a putting green in our backyard, and in recent months he's started putting around a lot, and he went to a mini golf place with a heap of friends a few weeks ago, and he was proud of himself that he whooped everyone's butt. Now, he and I went to a pop stroke, and it'll be a different story. But I use that as an example of, I think, like introducing more people to the sport, and that entertainment type engagement can hook more people in, and then like ultimately just growing the game. The more people that we have participating, the more businesses that we can have operating in the golf space, keep golf courses open and not closing down, and just drive everyone kind of through that experience from raw beginner to eventually being the guide on the course, and having a caddy when you go to your pebble beaches and whatnot, because you've you've gone from being nowhere in golf to now you just love it.
Yeah.
I don't know, rambling there a little bit, but that entertainment space, I think we could
I
see
think that's an
huge
important
growth there.
edge. It's already, I think, if I remember my research correctly, it's over $100 billion economy, the golf economy. And if that is continuing to grow with the introduction of new technologies and widening the audience, you have a CAGR that can look interesting to a lot of these new businesses that are taking on these new technologies, while we have aging golfers who are maybe less interested in some of these things and a wider audience growing. That's a really interesting way to look at this.
Yeah, the golf light side of things, the off course things are growing far faster than on course for a whole lot of reasons. But I think with AI, the way that I would like to see it, right, game improvement is the thing that I get most excited about. I think it's the sexiest part of every single sport is how do I get better at this thing? So AI is obviously playing a huge role in that. But then the people behind that need to be adopting AI for their actual businesses. And a big part of when I ran CoachNow, and I still do today, is educating the coaches, these experts, on how to operate their businesses more effectively, so that they can stay in business and help these people get better. AI obviously has a massive amount of benefit for just running a business more effectively, a more leaner team, because most of these coaches try to do everything and they're not necessarily the greatest entrepreneurs. And so hopefully AI can help assist that. And I think in the end, if we get more people on the golf course that are more skilled, then we can start to solve a little bit more of the most annoying problem, is just pace of play. Right. So I don't get to play golf very often because it takes way too damn long. And so if there's any way that AI can play into the game improvement piece to keep people moving along, I have a lot of experience in the GPS side of things because over my time, I collaborated with two of the biggest GPS applications. And so getting people to move along the golf course is a huge deal. I see Matt here with Noonan. They take simulator data or launch monitor data and put it into a GPS app to help you understand your shot dispersion and what club you should actually hit. So I think a lot of things like that to take simulator golf through Golf Zone or other technologies and help you actually play golf better and hopefully faster through aggregating all that data and presenting you some clearer options of what you should hit versus what you want to hit. I think is a big opportunity, because pace of play across the entire golf industry, if you're running Troon or American Golf or whatever, pace of play is actually the number one satisfaction point that all these courses are ultimately measuring.
See, I thought the bottleneck for pace of play was always the starter.
Well, there's a little bit of that too, but yeah, generally I think if there's pushing people through the course faster is what everybody wants, right? Get more rounds in, have more fun.
Amazing. Well, gentlemen, thank you guys for all the incredible insights. I think what we're going to do now is shift into Q&A for the last 15 minutes. I know I said 20, but we're having a good chat. Wanted to keep it going.
Yeah.
So audience, the floor is yours. If you've got questions or things you want to raise, feel free to just come off mute and start talking. We'll try to modulate from there. Who's got the first
I'm
one?
back. The point where you were talking about the AI and the coaches and all this, the AI, what we are building is the coach work with the students with it, but it's to give them better answer of the problem when they're working alone on the game.
Yeah.
Because we know that most of the time the people cannot afford to have a coach every day. So the 14 days where they don't have the coach, they can ask the AI, well, how is my hip rotation? Is that better as 3 weeks ago? Where do I need to work at? And that's what the AI says. So that's where I see the AI extremely helping the people to improve the way they play golf, because they have somebody give good information in the pocket.
Yeah, and the number one reason people don't improve, and if you go to any driving range across the world, you'll see it, 99.9% of people practice with zero feedback. No training aids, no video, no nothing. So if you can help people practice with more feedback, it's a win across the board.
Yeah, and the people goes in and they go to YouTube and they download a YouTube video, and that video is actually not for that person, but it sounds great. And they're working the wrong direction. And when they come back to the lessons, we need to pull them back on the right track again, because they were working for 14 days without. And that's where the app is individual. So it saves all the informations, what you're feed it with when you're working with the app. So in 3 months or in 1 year, you can ask, like I just said, is my hip rotation better now as it was for 3 months ago or 5 months or a year ago?
That's
and
great.
that's where it's going to get great in that way.
Totally.
Yes. Can I just put out, if somebody want to know about the app, or I also have a putting app, don't want to talk about that now, they can contact me.
It'd be you can feel free to drop links in the chat about all the things so people can follow up, but let's create some space for some other folks.
Yeah, I think that, hey, this is Chris Wyckoff, founder of SwingFit AI. We focus on kind of the enabling the club fitting side. In addition, it's focusing on game improvement for the actual golfer, but automating and improving a process that the coaches / fitters use. It's basically for that. But I don't would love to promote my product, but I think the real thing I've learned I've been in the journey since I started this in 2017 to 19. Is like when I started working on this. Where I think the real one thing I've noticed in those years is the importance of whatever people are doing with AI is asking the right questions and feeding it the right data.
Yep.
And I think so many people miss that. And so it was great to hear you guys talking. What you were saying about that, is AI is crap with bad data.
The everlong shit in, shit out problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think the measurement tools and everything, as those have advanced, are really different ways of whatever you're measuring. It's really cool, and I'm excited about this whole industry and how it can change it.
Awesome.
For sure.
I see. How can you teach AI to read people with disability? Do you want to speak up? Whoever's behind the Adaptive Golf channel.
Hi, it's Gianna, one-handed lady golfer. Google me.
Right on.
No, that wasn't a plug. I'm sorry. No, seriously, I had an opportunity a couple of years ago to sit on an advisory committee with a company who had produced an AI, supposedly one of the very groundbreaking first versions of AI for golfers. We took my phone to the driving range. I hit a bunch of times out of maybe 2 of my swings because it was looking for a 2-handed swing.
Yeah.
It was looking for 2 hands, 2 legs, C-swing plane. That's where I'm kind of an anomaly in this scenario. But if you're going to start talking about this stuff, you need to include all golfers. And we're golfers.
Yep.
So have us on your committees, have us on your advisory boards, have us as part of your case studies. Chris, raise it, hallelujah. Yeah. No, but seriously, involve us in your all of the journey that you're going on, because we're also I'm a nonprofit. I'm not something that just me, myself, and I using my story to help train individuals to rethink that we're not, or teachers, coaches, to think that we're not bringing golf out of somebody. We're putting golf. I mean, we're not putting golf in somebody. We're bringing golf out of somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is going to have a different angle of attack. Everyone is going to have a different way of approaching their moment of truth when they hit that golf ball. And even if it goes 3 inches and they didn't think they could, they've won the Masters.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make the comment and bring that thought up to say that include us in these studies.
I think that's
Well, I think that's where,
More than happy for
Yeah.
further discussion after.
yeah, and I think that's why we go back to me, right? AI is helpful, but it boils down to the fantastic coaches that are out there and the athletes that are out there that understand all the limitations. I'm somebody that has a lot of physical limitations, and my son's autistic, and so like,
So you get the space that we're talking about, and how
Oh,
much
100%.
more, Richard, this is for you on the psychology level that we get from being successful in our why we want to play.
Right.
And that is really a little bit of a more edge of unit of conviction that we get back for being able to just that journey to the golf course.
Totally. Yep.
Empty wheelchairs outside of the golf course is the best thing you can ever see. And I'll hush there.
That's very, yeah.
Gianna, was the flag in the channel about not being able to find the hand to raise a joke?
No. Actually, it's a good pun, though. That's a good catch. I'll have to use
That was like
next
strong.
time.
That was strong.
I'll find that next time. Don't ever ask me if you can give me a hand to help me with something, because I'll say, I'll take your left one, but I don't need any help.
I love it.
But I would
Thank
like
you
to continue this if you guys feel this is an interesting angle to maybe it's just a piece of the puzzle that not by any ill intent just may have been overlooked.
It's a super
Yeah, if I
important
can weigh
puzzle.
in a little on that, I think it's like to talk to the AI piece of that, just knowing what we're trying to do with the golf ball, right? We've got to collect a lot of data as well to train a model, right? We're using AI to kind of teach the ball like what's happening to it. And when it comes to like the visual, and to your point of, you know, recording swing on your iPhone and, you know, it not picking up the hand there, like I think that's where, you know, the developers of these products need to collect more data, and to your point, work with, like, we need to collect swings, and we need to mark that, like, hey, no, here is someone that you know, is not two-handed, that is not what we're expecting to see, and help train the model on how to identify that.
That's
And
exactly
so
right.
ultimately, I think AI is a tool, but like Spencer said at the beginning of this, like, we've got to remember the human element to it. And I don't think AI will ever replace the PGA member, coach, the instructor, and like, you've got to have that human experience. Just like you know, if we get sick, we want to go and see our doctor. I don't know if we'd ever want AI to answer all the questions, but it's, again, just a tool to help collect all of the data, process it, and get us to results quicker.
Yeah. And it's something that where once that tool becomes a little more open, I guess you could call it, then that tool now becomes even more of a bigger tool for coaches. And the reason I say that is because when I outgrow you, Mr. Coach, who just introduced me, and I go to my next coach, how do I take all that information with me? And having this kinds of, even the golf ball data, even though the ball in the hole, don't care if you roll it with your nose or even if it gets there, that golf ball data is important on you feeling that what your expectations are and your why of playing golf is different from somebody else's. There is a competitive pathway. I'm sorry, I'm taking way too much time. If you, again, Google adaptive golf, Google one-hand lady golfer, there is I'm on a world ranking system that sits in the house with the RNA. There's a world for golfers with disabilities, a world ranking. USGA, as of the last 4 years, now this will be the 5th year, before the first USGA Adaptive Golf Open, they've added adaptive golf to their championship. We're validated as golfers.
Yeah.
So now we need the tools that everybody else has. We deserve to have the same tools that everybody else has. So me taking my swing and getting you know, that wasn't a good feeling. But it's just because the AI could not read my body and my motion because I only swing with one arm. I do not use this other arm. So it's looking for that other arm to look where my positionings are.
Yeah.
That's just the encounter. Like I said, I'm an anomaly and I didn't mean to throw it into the group, but hopefully it sparks maybe something you didn't think of.
It absolutely does. Thank you, Gianna.
Yep. Thank you.
Lucas, what's up, man? You're the last one we got time for.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Just a little background. So I normally build biotech computational research teams, and as far as golfing is concerned, it's very hobbyist on my end. But get out to simulators and sometimes play best ball on the golf course with some doctor friends and stuff. But so I have two questions, and they're a little different. But the first has to do with simulators. I'm curious if there's any developments in terms of using AI or sort of automated methods to generate the courses, the digital courses, quickly or effectively, from things like satellite imagery or photogrammetry data sets or whatever you can. Because when I go to a simulator, I want to play my home course and it's not on the list. It'd be nice if you could just play any golf course on a simulator. I'm just kind of curious if there's been any developments along that. And then my second question, just so I can get off the line here, would be, I like this idea. The ball sounds very interesting, but is there anything along the lines of making something that attaches to a club or some, and tracks the swing that way directly? And then you can kind of imagine that being, not something that has to get hit by the club, is more like resilient and as far as data collection purposes or other stuff. So that's a naive question too. Thank you.
No, I don't think that's naive at all. If I can answer in on the first one on the simulator space. So going back to my experience at Full Swing, using the tools that we had back then, back 2018, 19, 2020, it would take me about 8 weeks to build the golf course and then go through a 4-week QA process. So I could pump out 4, maybe 5 golf courses per year. And that was kind of the cadence that the whole team was on. Since leaving Full Swing, I've interacted with the guys at True Golf. And what I've learned about what they're working on, like they're able to, they are using AI to generate golf courses, and they have 2 different kind of types of quality level for their courses. But I mean, they're on a path to have every golf course on the planet available to play in simulator golf in the next couple of years. And you couldn't do that just with humans alone, unless you had thousands of developers working on it and building it. So AI is definitely having an impact in the simulator space and creating that golf course content. So yeah, that's happening.
And for years and years, there's been lots of companies trying to figure out the let's get it on a golf club sensor, whether it be tracking your shots on the course, just literally impact, whether it be the movement of the golf club through the space, the speed of what the golf club is traveling. There's a lot of companies that have been doing that. I can't speak to any that have had amazing success, like breakout success, but there's going to be more and more investment there for sure. Everyone, people are addicted to golf, so they're going to want to keep trying to build stuff that make them better one way or the other. Yeah.
Can I just in on this one with the golf course? True Golf is actually need less as 1 week to build a golf course, and they're bringing out about 2,000 golf courses every 2 months. Wow. So they're going to be more. I think it's going to be about 20,000 golf courses end of the year. Yeah.
Their AI generated courses, they can be done in days. They still will work on their premium courses and have their designers hand placing things to replicate. I know they built Portrush for the Open this year, so that was not leveraging AI at all. So when you've got the human involvement and you're trying to recreate something that exists in the real world, and you want to have you want it to be easily recognizable as this is that course, you still need the human element there. AI is not going to be able to do it all. So they still have their 2-type model, right? Here's what we can do for the masses. Here's AI. We can do it quickly, but you're going to get a certain quality at this point with those sorts of courses. But then your higher quality premium courses, you're still going to need the human element.
We have hit the end of this chat, and thank you guys so much for joining us with this MOHARA Roundtable. We do these very often these days, and the subject matter changes, but AI is the through line in each of them. So join us for the next one. You'll be on the mailing list, and you'll get a recap of this one. And appreciate you all being a guest here today. Spencer, Josh, Rich, thank you for the insights, the actions.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me part of this.